Ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you debated with a brick wall? You tried so hard to state your point and make them understand, but they made you feel like you were the one who could not understand? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. We'll be diving into some things many of us have experienced, dealing with a narcissistic man who simply don't listen. No matter how much evidence you bring to the table, no matter how logically or clearly and calmly you explain your point, it is simply never gets across. It always bounces off of them. Before we get into the details, let's define what narcissism is. Narcissism isn't just being confident or liking yourself too much, like the self-love we talk about these days. It's a personality trait. It's a disorder. It is, and sometimes people have an inflated sense of ego, self-importance, excessive need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. That's the most important point. So when they don't get what they want, they throw a fit. One of the core traits narcissists or men often display is the refusal to listen, especially when a viewpoint challenges their own. For them, listening means being vulnerable, means being and admitting that you are wrong. Let's be real, that's something narcissists cannot do. Their ego is always built on being right, having the perfect viewpoints, staying above others in ranking, and controlling the conversation. No matter how valid your point is, it will always get dismissed. Talking to them feels like having a conversation with a brick wall, and the wall just doesn't sit still. It actively deflects. It actively says that I do not want to understand your points and I do not care what you are saying. Instead of engaging, the narcissistic man will invalidate your knowledge, downplay your feelings, and come up with a dozen excuses to avoid accountability. So here's the thing, narcissistic men aren't actually trying to understand you, they're trying to win. To them, conversation isn't about emotional connection or mutual understanding, it's about power play. So when you bring insight into the room or challenge their opinion, they don't see it as contribution, they see it as threat, because no matter what, threats in their mind must be shut down, and you cannot be right, they have to be right. That's why they continuously talk over you, mock your sources, question your expertise. Even if you stay calm, even if you back up everything you say with facts, they still brush it off even if they know the facts are right, because they were never listening and didn't want to ever understand you. For example, you share that you read something in the psychology article and thus it backs up your argument, but then they'll say, well, you're not a psychologist, how would you know? And then you get a psychology degree, and when you get the psychology degree, they say, well, you don't have a PhD, so you're not educated enough. And when you get the PhD, they say, well, you have not worked in the field, so how would you know? And then they say, after you work in the field, they're like, oh, you haven't experienced the real world. So it just keeps going on and on. It's not even about the facts anymore or the qualifications. You get what is happening here. It's just making sure you never win. There's no limit to their excuses. Their ego won't allow them to acknowledge your growth and knowledge, because it would threaten their sense of self-worth and superiority. Their tactic isn't just qualifications, it's a way to silence you and maintain control. By constantly discrediting your experience and expertise, they avoid accountability and keep the power dynamic in their favor. Try to fight back with reason. They try to get more sarcastic, more condescending, they twist your words, mock your tone, paint you as too emotional and too intense, and I don't like what you're doing. Like, he doesn't have to like what you're doing, it's just a conversation, and before you know it, you're exhausted. You start questioning yourself, am I really wrong, am I overreacting? That's the gaslighting at work. Doubt your own reality because the narcissist refuses to validate it. This can lead to anxiety, stress, and lowered self-esteem. You might find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to avoid triggering their defensiveness or anger. You might even stop sharing their your thoughts to them altogether, afraid of being dismissed or ridiculed by them. Instant mental energy you spend trying to explain and convince a narcissist that your perspective is valid is wasted energy. It drains you, leaving you completely emotionally depleted. You second guess yourself. You replay the conversation in your head constantly, wondering what did you do wrong. But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You were just speaking to someone who never planned to actually listen in the first place. It's not your job to educate someone who's committed to misunderstanding you. You don't owe anyone endless explanations, especially to someone who treats your conversations like they are unworthy. The problem was never a lack of your logic, patience, or clarity. It was their refusal to understand you. You deserve to be heard, not tolerated. You deserve conversations rooted in mutual respect, not in power games. Next time you try to find yourself trying to reason with someone who twists your words, dismisses your insight, or even makes you feel small for speaking your truth, remind yourself that you're not here to shrink for someone else so that they can feel big. You can also feel big, but not in the way that the narcissist feels, where they have an inflated ego. You can just also have your point to be validated. You're here to grow, to speak, to take up space. Walk away from the narcissist. Even if it's destroying your mental health, honestly, walk away. Like, it's not worth your mental health. Save your energy for people who are actually listening to you, who actually care about your opinions, and even if they don't validate your points, they'll still understand that even if it's a different viewpoint, like, they will validate you because you're worthy of being heard. So if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and drop a comment. Tell me what you liked the most. Bye.